Joining us now to talk about that and so much more is Dr. Jason Johnson, our friend, senior politics editor for Politic365.com. Jason, Doctor, sir, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic.
Good to talk to you as always. So what's your take on this? At least Barbara Boxer, who, by the way, got 3 Pinocchios today from the Washington Post on something else she was claiming. At least Barbara Boxer waited till today to blame Republicans and global warming for the tornado.
Every single time there is any tragedy, whether it is Sandy Hook, whether it's what's happening in Oklahoma, whether it's what happened in Boston, there will be someone who decides that they're going to use it in order to promote whatever particular political opinion that they have. That is not a condemnation of an entire party. It is not a condemnation of an entire political belief. Should Sheldon Whitehouse have been saying what he was saying when he said it? That's for the voters to decide in his particular state. But I don't think that's very different than what Wayne LaPierre was saying, after Boston, than what some Democrats have said after Sandy Hook, than what some Republicans said after 9/11. This is typical political rhetoric.
What did Republicans say after 9/11 that's comparable to what you're talking about here, what did Wayne LaPierre say after Boston? You always mix the bag. We're talking about Sheldon Whitehouse, and you can't even condemn him.
I'm talking about all politicians. Look, I don't necessarily think that
all politicians don't do that.
I'm not necessarily saying that what he said was appropriate or timely, but ultimately, is it causing anyone to die? No. Is it appropriate speech? Probably not, but that's not for us to decide. That is for the voters in his particular state to decide. And I do believe, just like Wayne LaPierre said, look, people in Boston when this was going on, I bet they wanted a gun and we got to protect. It's like, no, that doesn't
what has that got to do with anything?
What I'm saying,
how is that on a par with this?
There was a tragedy where people were killed by terrorists, and he wants to associate that with people having guns in their homes
to protect themselves. There was a manhunt. Of course, people would like to feel safe.
Having a gun.
He wasn't blaming. He wasn't blaming the Democratic Party for it.
The Democrats in the White House, if they had their way, none of these people would have been able to protect themselves. And what I was saying in that particular instance, just like with what we're talking about with Sheldon Whitehouse, you are attempting to conflate two issues that really aren't related to each other. That's all I'm suggesting.
No, I think there's a direct link, and there's no problem with saying that to people when they feel vulnerable and there's a manhunt for terrorists would like to have guns in their house to feel safe. I don't think that's a problem. He wasn't blaming anybody for death.
But it made it harder for the police.
No, he wasn't. Now you're getting way out of. He wasn't blaming anybody for the deaths in Boston. This idiot, this senator, was blaming Republicans and people who don't believe in global warming for the tornado. Okay. There's no comparison.
I actually think there is one, because what he was suggesting is that the White House and people who are gun control advocates wanted to see people harmed and not able to protect themselves because they did not want everyone to have access to guns. Right. That's what he was saying. Well, again, I don't think that's appropriate, but he's free to say that in front of the NRA because those are his supporters, his constituents, and Sheldon Whitehouse can say what he wants to say. Ultimately, as long as Sheldon Whitehouse isn't saying, I'm not going to vote for aid to Oklahoma, as long as he's not saying, I want to censure or kick people out of Congress who don't believe in global warming, it's just a politician opening his mouth. I don't really see it's worth that much outrage.
So you have no problem blaming Republicans and people who don't believe in global warming for the death of children in a schoolhouse in a tornado.
Sheldon Whitehouse
expressing
his opinion as a member of the Senate, because that's what members.
And I'm sure you said the same thing when the congressman made his comments on rape. I'm sure you said to the media and whenever you were on CNN or wherever, what are we talking about here? There's no big deal here. This is a guy expressing his opinion, right?
Because it was Aiken's right to say what he believed, and the voters got to decide.
No, the voters didn't get to decide. The media and the Democratic Party called the whole Republican convention, in Tampa, a convention of people who hate women, who are rapists, who favor rape. In fact, some on the left wished that the hurricane would hit in Tampa because they all hated women.
What Democrats said that Republicans favor rape? What
Excuse me?
Democrats said that Republicans favor rape.
The Democratic Party and the media went nuts and defined the whole Republican Party by the comments of one congressman on rape. Now, you say when Sheldon Whitehouse says something, it's just his personal opinion. Well, you know what? The media agrees with you because they're not defining the Democratic Party by Sheldon Whitehouse. They only do that with Republicans.
That's not true.
No?
That's not true. And what Todd Aiken said, look, give me a break. You can't consider what Todd Aiken said to be in a vacuum because it also came after what Rush Limbaugh had said. It also came after what the other member of Congress had said.
All right. Well, Barbara Boxer said what Whitehouse said. So there's no vacuum there either, sir.
What I'm suggesting is this. Ultimately, what happened to Todd
And they're elected officials. They're not Rush Limbaugh. They're not me. They're elected Democratic officials. They're senators.
This district ultimately made the decision that they didn't like what he had to say.
You can't. We're not talking about. You're confusing the issue on purpose because you don't want to hone up and register in and say what this man did is despicable. What you're saying is he can say what he wants, and then if he loses election, then he has to suffer the consequences. That's not the issue. The issue is how despicable is what he said.
It's not despicable, just like what Todd Aiken said wasn't despicable. He had every right to have that opinion, and he faced the voters. And that, because I'm a patriot, and I believe that ultimately it's the voters in the district who get to decide what is right and what is wrong to come out of their representatives, that's what I argue for.
You remember the media firestorm over Aiken? Seem to recall that?
It doesn't matter.
No. Oh, it matters 100%. It does matter. The double standard. Nobody in the media today has taken in the mainstream media has taken Whitehouse to task. Aiken was the story for weeks.
He was the story for weeks also because he didn't back down because his own party wanted him out.
He did back down. He apologized. What do you mean he didn't back down?
He didn't apologize until he thought that he was going to lose the election.
Oh, come on.
And again, the larger issue is this. Sheldon Whitehouse can say whatever it is he wants. If Sheldon Whitehouse doesn't want to vote to send aid to Oklahoma, then I have a problem. If anybody doesn't want to send aid to Oklahoma because they think Tom Coburn isn't, aggressive enough on global warming, then we have a problem because you're making other American citizens suffer because they don't agree with you ideologically.
Okay,
but
let's
say what he wants, it doesn't matter.
Let's move on. We're talking to Dr. Jason Johnson, senior politics editor for Politic365.com. Right here on the Steve Malzberg Show. Last week when we talked, the scandals were brewing, but now we have Lois Lerner going to take the fifth tomorrow in the IRS scandal. We find out that people in the White House knew about this investigation. Treasury Department knew about this last April. This has been going on for years. That's the IRS. We found out about another two reporters now. We have James Rosen, who is classified as a co-conspirator in a criminal investigation by this Justice Department. We now have the CBS reporter, whose name now escapes me. I was talking to her about 10 minutes ago. Cheryl Atkinson, she now says that her computer was hacked when she started reporting on Fast and Furious. So that goes on and on and on. Benghazi, we now have more whistleblowers coming forward who say that they have things to say, according to a report in PJ Media, and it's not going to be good for Hillary or for Obama. And here's what the White House's answer was on Sunday. This will be cut 8. This is what the White House had to say. Dan Pfeiffer, the man that the White House chose to send out on all 5 shows, and here's what he said.
Was he in the Situation Room?
He was kept up to date throughout the day.
Do you not know whether he was in the Situation Room?
I don't remember what room the president was in on that night. That's a largely irrelevant fact. The assertions from Republicans here that somehow that the president allowed this to happen or didn't take action is offensive.
And the question isn't who edited what talking points. That's largely irrelevant.
What does the president believe? Does the president believe that would be illegal?
I can't speak to law. The law here, the law is irrelevant.
The law is irrelevant. The fact that the president was in the Situation Room during Benghazi is irrelevant, and the question is offensive. Who changed the talking points is irrelevant. This is the man. That's what the president sent out and wanted him to say. Right. It's in your face, America. I don't have to answer. I'm not sending my chief of staff out. Even Bob Schieffer asked him, with all due respect, Mr. Pfeiffer, what are you doing here? Where's someone else higher in the administration? And this president obviously loved those answers because it's 2-3 days later, hasn't come out and said, oh, we apologize for what Dan Pfeiffer said. So it's in your face, America. You ask a question, we're offended. You want to know where the president was, it's irrelevant. The law in the IRS case, that's irrelevant. That's your presidential spokesman right there. How do you like that one?
Well, to be honest with you, I don't feel any different than I did when we spoke about this last week. If you want to line up every single president who's tried to cover up when they screwed something up foreign policy-wise, we can go back pretty far. And as far as I'm concerned, whether you talk about the issue that concerns me the most is the issue about the AP reporters and the issue about the Fox News reporter. But here's my concern about that, and this runs beyond Obama. My concern about that is all of this is now legal because of the Patriot Act and because of policies that we as American citizens have been accepting for the last 10 to 12 years.
Oh, this is Bush's fault.
No.
Oh, why didn't I think of that?
I said.
Gee, I knew the IRS scandal was Bush's fault because he appointed the head of the IRS who was in charge of that. But I didn't know this was Bush's fault.
Start to investigate what police are doing has been going on for 10 years. I didn't mention his name.
Oh, I see. So, but do you understand that no president, including Bush, no administration or Justice Department, including Gonzalez or any of the Bush attorney generals, has ever done what this administration, excuse me?
The people who outed a CIA agent by giving information to Bob Novak, let's not pretend that other people's hands aren't bloody when it comes to abusing reporters. I think regardless of the administration,
I'm telling you that no other administration or Justice Department has ever considered a reporter doing his job as a co-conspirator. Usually, as Alberto Gonzalez said, and has been the history, and as Major Garrett has said, they go to, wait, Jason, they go to reporters. They go to the AP. They say, can we have this? Could we have that? Here, and they negotiate. And if they can't reach a deal, then they get a subpoena. What's happened here and what Eric Holder has admitted to doing is doing this multiple times. We don't even know who else he did it to besides Rosen, the AP, and possibly Cheryl Atkinson. So, I mean, to say that, and you know what? We had the Patriot Act for many, many years under Bush and the Justice Department under Bush, and they never did what this administration is doing. Never.
And Valerie Plame got out of the... Look,
what are you talking about? Valerie Plame wasn't a CIA agent.
I am not saying that what the Obama administration is doing is good. I'm not saying that he shouldn't be criticized for it. What I'm saying is, if we want to actually be realistic, and we want to actually take a look at the idea of freedom of the press, then we need to hold this president and this Congress, both Republicans and Democrats, accountable to return some of the civil liberties that we've lost over the last 12 years.
They were never abused by the Bush people. They're being abused by these people.
The Bush administration sent the IRS after the NAACP. There's not one scandal that you've got going on right now with Barack Obama that we didn't see with Clinton.
Really?
We didn't see
really?
With
What do you mean he sent them after the end? I know that the Kennedys sent the IRS and anything else they could after King, the great Camelot family. RFK despised Martin Luther King Jr. But what do you mean he sent them after the NAACP? What do you mean?
They put the NAACP through a 2-year audit, which was unprecedented. No one had ever done that before, in large part because the NAACP was part of larger lawsuits against the Bush administration about unfairness in the 2000 election. They did that.
Okay, and that was shown to be what? That was shown to be vindictive. That was shown to be what?
It was shown that all the investigations and all the IRS audits that there was no inappropriate behavior going on.
All right. I will put my faith in the Bush administration for having reason to do it. You're citing one example, and I'll give you 500. I'll give you people taking the fifth. I'll give you people taking the fifth.
What
How's
has the
that?
NAACP ever done that would warrant?
I don't know enough about the specifics of that case, Doctor. That's not the point. That's not the point. People get audited, and there's legitimate audits. But when you admit that you're targeting conservative groups and enemies of the president who criticize the president and report on the president,
it's all wrong. It's all wrong.
Oh, it is, but it's no big deal.
No, like I said, he's got 53% approval, so apparently the American people aren't that concerned. They're not that concerned.
That's great. Oh, they're concerned. Wait till they start seeing people take the fifth, and the media doesn't have a tornado to report on, and they cover this, you're going to see
150,000 people getting new jobs every month. No one's going to.
Oh yeah! Oh, the economy's really turned around, and the millions that have dropped out of the workforce, and the millions more on food stamps under Obama. They're real happy, Jason. They're loving it.
53% approval rating.
According to one poll. You know what they also want to see in that poll? They also want to see, if you read the whole poll of CNN, they also want to see investigations into Benghazi and everything else going on. So don't say they're happy they don't care. They do care.
60% say that the Republican Party is only investigating this to score political points.
Right, because this happens all the time. Right.
So again, the public doesn't believe that the Republicans are really all that concerned. And I said this before, it's very simple. Unless you actually believe that Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton wanted foreign service people to die, there is no story.
No story. No. They told the truth to the American people. It was the video, Jason. It was the video. Why'd they lie, Jason? Why did they lie, Jason? Why did they lie?
They all lie.
Oh, they all lie. All right. You know what, Jason? We got to be a little more critical and critical in our thinking and our thought and holding people responsible. They all lie is going to wind us up like Hugo Chavez in Venezuela, and you'll sit there and pat Obama on the back every step of the way. Hey, it's okay. Nobody cares. The economy's doing good. Keep it up. Yeah, that'll be real good.
Voters, which is what happened last year.
Right. We're all about the voters. Right.
By voters if they care about it next year. But ultimately, what this boils down to is this. Unless you believe that Barack Obama actually wanted people to die, if you believe that this was an issue
Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton lied to us. We don't know why they lied to us. We don't know why Stevens was in Benghazi. We don't. Hey, why? Oh, Jason.
They lied.
Why was security denied? Why was security denied to the dead ambassador? Why?
Obama lied and Hillary Clinton lied because of
why, Jason? Why was an ambassador who requested security and is now dead denied that security?
Because there are half a dozen ambassadors around the world who wanted additional security at the exact same time, and they didn't get it either.
Okay, that's a great reason.
And why did George Bush say that there were weapons of mass destruction in Iraq, and there were none?
George Bush didn't say it, my friend. The entire world's intelligence communities all said it. On that note, I got to go.
Bush and Tony Blair.
Right, Jason did it. Dr. Jason Johnson, Senior Politics Editor, Politics365.com. I thank you, as always, my friend. All right.